this way. There we go. Now can you hear me? Better? Okay. Welcome to the district seminar and retirement seminar. We're going to talk about the early retirement incentives from Alpine. And after me, we're going to have Drew Hill, who is over the Precision Retirement Group, who will take your stipend, your money, and you'll find out what happens to it, okay? And then after Drew, we'll have Arity, who will talk about the insurance. And after the insurance, our amazing URS guy, Tracy, will do a quick presentation. He's going to shorten it just a little bit because we also have Garner presenting. They're here to give you a brief presentation and then be open to a few questions, okay? So tonight was a good night to come. All right, so retirement seminar. And, oh, there we go. So here's our policies. Okay, so this isn't coming up here. Is this supposed to come up? So I can read it? It's teeny tiny. Okay, I'm gonna have to, okay. So here's the policies, the certified and classified. You can go there and take a look at it if you want to. Okay, so this is basically telling you that you need to tell us by February 1st if you want to get those early retirement incentives. Some people don't qualify for them, so that's fine if they don't hand it in by February 1st. It's kind of nice if they do because then they're on the list and everybody gets to know, but they don't have to do it by February 1st. So, and if they're going to make any major changes, they would open a window and extend it to April 1st. You can get these things if you've got 15 consecutive years with Alpine and you are 60 years old, or down below you've got 15 years or 30 years with URS. So it's one or the other. You don't have to have both. You need to be 60 years old or have 30 years. There are plenty of people that have 30 years that are not 60 years old. It really irritates me. They're like, 40s and 50s because they've been working forever. So, yeah, that's a huge blessing. They just need that 30 years. And part-time educators, you'll have the same thing only based on your FTE. Now, here's the Social Security benefits age. This is what the government uses to decide when you should retire or when you can get your full Social Security benefits. Anybody born 1960 or later, your full Social Security benefits is 67, and that's typically what people are now. All the 66 and 2 months, those guys are all long gone. So that's when the government says that's when you can retire. You can get your full Social Security benefits. We're giving you an early retirement stipend to encourage you to go out before then. Because we can turn around and hire someone a whole lot younger for a whole lot less money. So we're willing to give you some money to encourage you to go out. This stipend is worth 4 years. It's 4 years. So if you go out 4 years before your full Social Security age, so the latest being age 63, you're going to get up to age 63 your full stipend. Once you're past age 63, you're getting closer to 67, so you don't need as much money. So it's going to be divided by how many months it's going to take to get you to your full Social Security age. This is the calculation that we use. And so your base salary changes every year, and a new teacher's base salary changes every year. So every year the number could look different, okay? I didn't mention that it said in there that we put your stipend in a special pay plan with Precision Retirement Group, and the most we can put in a fiscal year is $70,000. Drew is going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. So here's an example of a certified retirement stipend. So say you've got the $113,056 as your base salary, not any extras, remember. Sometimes there's extended day and all that. It's your base salary. Subtract a brand new teacher's base salary. You get the difference. We times it by 54%. We get that amount, $35,155. And if you're going to go out 4 years before your full Social Security age, I can times that by 4. And the total amount that you're going to get is $140,620.32. $70,000 of it, if you're not going to use it to buy years, $70,000 fiscal year will go into the 403B pre-taxed. Okay? So, classified employees, very important employees. Yours is a little bit different. You still need to have the 15 contracted years, 10 of which need to be current consecutive, and be 60 years, or have 30 years with URS. Same thing. Here is the calculation for classified. We take your base salary, your current salary, we times it by 27%, which changed this year with negotiations. It used to be 25%, so you're now getting 2% more. Times that by 27%, and then if you're going out 4 years before your full Social Security age, I can times that by 4. And so this is an example of what that looks like. So certified, your base salary is $40,000. We're going to times it by 27%. We get the $10,800, and then I can times that by 4, and you're going to get $43,200. A little more than your salary to go out to say goodbye. And once again, it's telling you that $70,000 in a fiscal year will go into that 403B pre-taxed. Any questions? Am I going too fast? I just want to fit all this in. So yeah, your early retirement is based on contracted service. So yeah, a lot of you were hourlies way before you were contract. That does not count for Alpine benefits, but it does count for URS. So those are not wasted years, so that they do count, and that's the important one. And you've got to be actively employed. You can't be not coming to work. And the stipend has a 4-year maximum, or 48 months. So some people are just turning 63 when they go. So I have to calculate how many months, starting when they retire, to get to their full Social Security age. Well, most of the time it's not 48 months. It'll be like 42 months, because I start calculating the year they go, the month that they go typically, and if you're school-based, it starts September count. So then I have to count those months up until you get to exactly 67. So everybody's a little bit different. So never think that somebody else's number is going to be your number, okay? And this is offset by unreduced Social Security benefits. So yeah, the reason they're giving you less money is because now you don't need as much. You're going to get your full Social Security benefits. And they'll be deposited into the Precision Retirement Group account, which Drew is going to talk to us about right now.
Can I just a couple questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, district split. How long is this guaranteed for with the district split? Okay, so it's up to the new school board? So we get it for 1 year after the split?
That's what we're hearing.
The school board could say, no. So this money is coming from, this money for this program comes from money, district funds. Is that correct?
Yeah, an investment they've made. Yeah.
And is that true also, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, is that true also of the Medicare insurance benefits that some of the older ones get, that where they're going to cover most of our additional costs? Is that true also that that's funded through the district?
Yes.
And so
Those are Alpine benefits.
those are outlined, so that is not funded. So after, 1 year after, then the school board,
Then it's, yeah,
they just
that's
say,
the question.
whatever.
That's the
Okay.
question everybody has. And that's not something that's known right now. That will be figured out, I think, as things go on, after the boards are. Oh, because they couldn't hear? Yeah, so the question was, how long is it guaranteed? And we talked about, we've been told that we've got the 2 years that are Alpine years, and then the 1 year after the split, things are supposed to be the same. And after that, nobody knows. That is a question. If there is a major change, our people usually will make an announcement and open a window for you, because they realize that if things are majorly changing that's going to affect you and your decisions, they'll let you know. So that's typically what happens. Okay, Drew, come on up. Any other questions? Okay.
Can I disconnect this one? Is that okay?
Yes.
I don't know how to do that. Sorry. Okay. Like we talked about, my name's Drew Hill. My company is Precision Retirement Group. My local company is called Financial Educational Systems. I'm based out of Davis County. Precision is a national marketing organization, and with Precision, I help 22 school districts here in Utah that have these same types of benefits. Financial Educational Systems. Yeah, and I've got cards in the back and contact info that I can give to you if you need it. Like I said, they've got Precision. We work kind of throughout the nation. The company I'll get to in just a second, where will really be important for you is called Pelion Benefits. But the special pay plan, it's pretty straightforward. It's established as a 403B account. If you've ever had a 403B account, this is a tax-deferred savings plan. It's the main key points here. You're deferring federal and state taxes, so when the district makes those deposits for you, there's no taxes owed. You will pay taxes on the back end when you withdraw money. The key points on a 403B is that deposits can be made when you're no longer employed by the employer here. So that's why this one has to be established, because if your benefit is over $70,000, then you'll have multiple deposits that will happen, because the maximum that can be deposited in tax year is $70,000. So on the example that Chell gave earlier, that would mean if you retired in June, you'd receive a deposit into your 403B with Pelion benefits of $70,000, and then in January of the year following your retirement, you'd receive another deposit with the remaining balance, or if your deposit was over $140,000, another $70,000, and the following January, the remaining balance. Okay, so usually the total amount can be done in 3 deposits or less, but that's the way that they would be spread out. One at retirement, one the following January, and if needed, another the following January. Okay, the whole point of having these particular plans set up is to save the FICA taxation. So rather than giving you a cash payment and having that be a taxable benefit, they go into a tax-deferred plan like this 403B, and it ends up saving you, the retiree, the 7.65% in FICA, as well as the district, the 7.65% on their end in the FICA savings. This particular plan, as it says there's no sales charges, there's no fees to you, the participant, there's no costs. So it's just kind of a sitting, holding account. While it's in the account, so I kind of talked about this, but while it's in the account, it's currently earning 3%. It's got a 1% guaranteed minimum. It's not a great investment, but it's liquid. It's flexible for you to take money in and out of as often as you want to. It's a one-page distribution form, meaning if you wanted to change this over to another investment, roll it over to another investment, or if you wanted to just cash out and pay taxes on it as you did that, it's a one-page form that needs to be filled out and submitted. And it's a pretty simple, straightforward process that I'm willing to help you with and make as smooth for you as I can. But that's kind of the baseline. So I get that question often. Is there other investments that I can, not within this particular 403B plan, but if you wanted to change and move over, you have the ability and the flexibility once it goes into this account to then transfer it or roll it over to another investment that you choose from.
So that would be like a Roth conversion?
If you chose to do it that way, that's a taxable transaction. So yes, but yes, you can, if that's what you choose to do, yeah, it just has to go to this account first, and then whatever transaction you choose to do from there, you can go that way. Yeah. Okay? Any other questions? That's a great question. Same rules apply to this as any other 403B or 401k, where if you're 55 or older in the year that you retire, then you have access to these funds without additional penalties or taxes. but you have to be 55 or older. If you're under 55, then the 59 and a half rule applies. Okay, good question. Any other questions on this before we move on? Like I said, I will go through and be the guy who you'll talk to as we set up and get you enrolled. So if you notify the district that you're going to retire, they send me your name on a list, and you'll be hearing from my office, where I'll go through and get you enrolled and get you an account set up, make sure you have login information and everything else that you're going to need for Pelion benefits. That's the administrator of the account, and that's where you'll be able to log in, see your account balances. That's where you'll get your statements from. That's where you'll be able to, that's who you'll submit distribution forms to. All of those types of transactions will be run through Pelion benefits. They make it pretty simple. Like I said, everything's about a one-page, there's one-page enrollment form, one-page distribution form. Pretty straightforward as far as being able to access and make changes to the account if you need to. Any questions on that? Okay. Like I said, my office, my main office is just up in Kaysville. I've got cards in the back, and then I'll stick around, so if anybody has questions or needs anything from me, they can get it from me. But I'll be the guy that'll be reaching out to you and helping you through that process. You guys will have online access, and you can get all of the forms that you need. You'd find that at PelionBenefits.com. They've got toll-free numbers that you can call anytime. So you'll have plenty of access to these funds once they go into the account. You can make decisions for where you want to go from there. And like I mentioned before, local office, financial educational systems, Precision Retirement Group's our national marketing group, and then Pelion Benefits is where the account will actually be administered and where you'll find your online access for all of that. Look forward to meeting with you. Like I said, I want to make the process as easy as I can for each of you as you go through retirement. Just take as much off your plate as I can, because I know it's a process that's a little bit intimidating as you're going through it. So I don't want to make this one too hard for you. But this account and the contact with me will be only in regards to your early retirement incentive that Alpine School District pays out. Okay, if you have other questions that you want to talk about, I'm happy to answer those, but this is what I will be calling you about and contacting you about. Okay? Any questions for me that I can answer for you? Good question. No, you can't add to this. It's an employer-paid benefit, employer-paid plan.
So where can we move it to that doesn't have fees? Is there anything?
Wherever you choose, this does not have fees. So as long as it sits here, you're not paying any admin fees or any investment costs. You have the ability to move it to any other qualified investment. So you can move it to your 401k, you could move it to another 403b, you could roll it over to a traditional IRA, and all of those are tax-deferred savings plans. If you want to do what the gentleman asked about earlier and convert it to a Roth, you can do that, but that's a taxable transaction. So you got to be aware that you'd be paying taxes on it if you did something like that. When you make the conversion, you're paying your taxes. Correct. If you pulled it out and used it, yes. If you rolled it over to another investment, that's not a taxable transaction. So, good questions. Any other questions there? Okay. Thank you for your time. Back to you, Artie. Right? Stop my mirroring here and take you back in.
Okay, thanks, Drew. I'm hoping my voice will make it through the end of this. It's a little bit scratchy, so if you can't hear me, let me know. I'm going to be talking about the second early retirement incentive, which is a possible 4, 5, or 6 years of medical insurance once you retire. The first thing you need to know is that you are only eligible for these benefits if you were hired on a contract before March 1st of 2006. Okay, so you can find your hire date in the employee service portal. If you were hired before that date and then you left and then came back, you wouldn't be eligible. It must be your last hire date would be before March 1st of 2006. Okay. Now, how do you know if you're eligible for 4, 5, or 6 years? As of 2006, did you have between 1 and 10 years of contracted years with Alpine? If you did, you would be eligible for up to 4 years of medical insurance. If you had between 11 and 19 years, as of 2006, you'd be eligible for 5. And 20 or more, as of 2006, you'd be eligible for 6. Any questions on that? There's a couple more things we need to follow. Okay. Besides that date, you also have to meet the following requirements. So you have to have 20 current and consecutive contracted years with Alpine. Okay. And be 60 years of age in the year that you retire. Okay. Or you have the 20 current and consecutive years and have 30 URS years. That is what will make you eligible. Any questions on that? Okay. Now, this policy says if the spouse or dependent becomes eligible to join Medicare or is enrolled in another employer-sponsored health plan, the benefits cease until the dependent is no longer eligible for coverage. What this is basically saying is that the retiree, we're not going to cover your spouse and dependents on a secondary coverage, right? Now, if they have no other insurance, they are eligible to stay on your medical insurance for the 4, 5, or 6 years. But if they're on Medicare at age 65, they're not eligible. We consider that another coverage. Let's say your spouse works and they have coverage, and then they quit and they no longer have coverage during that 4, 5, or 6 years, then they're eligible to come back and be put on your policy. Does that make sense?
Would it be more, like, what if you retired, but I worked for a year, then would I just get the 3 years?
If it's his coverage, till his ends.
Till his ends?
Yep, till your spouse's ends, okay?
And there's another question.
Okay.
If upon retirement, you have no, you have a employee, you have insurance, can this kick in, say, 2 or 3 years later, can it be deferred?
It cannot.
It cannot be deferred.
No. It must be taken immediately upon retirement.
And it does cover a spouse, because we've been told to do that.
Only covers a spouse if they have no other coverage. So as an active employee, your spouse can be double covered. They can have their own and they can be on yours. But if you're the retiree and you wanted your spouse on that coverage, he or she would have to have 0 coverage in order to be eligible.
And but then both are covered for the 4 or 5 or
4 or 5 or 6 years, or until they get something else, like if somebody turns 65, then you have to sign up for Medicare, then you wouldn't be eligible anymore. The spouse would not, right? Okay, yes? Correct. You're never going to get a better benefit than what you have as an active employee. So you know how you guys are paying, let's say you're on Plan B, and you're paying $20 for one person, $40 for 2, $60 for a family. If you're going to keep a family on coverage because they have no other coverage during that 4, 5, or 6 years, you're going to have to pay that premium. Now, it doesn't come through Alpine anymore because you don't get a paycheck through us, right? You're going to actually set up a pay system through EMI. So the first bill that you get, you're going to contact them. You're going to set it up to either come out of your pension or direct deposit out of your paycheck. or pardon me, out of your checking account to pay for that, right? It will always cost at least what an active employee's cost. Does that make sense? Did I have another question over here? Yeah.
So when it says, if my spouse is working but doesn't take the insurance at his company.
Then he may be on yours.
Under mine.
Yeah.
Okay, if he chooses not, it's not a very good plan, he chooses not to take.
They're just gonna look at it. If they see he has other coverage, they're gonna drop him. But if he has no other coverage, they will keep him covered.
Okay, even if he has the opportunity, he
Mhm.
chooses not to take his.
Correct.
He could stay.
Correct. Yes.
And similar question to what I've asked before, when the split happens, where is this pool of money coming from?
We don't know. That will have to
So
be,
could the new board just say it stops?
I would doubt it. Alpine is very, very,
Three new school boards.
yeah.
They could. They could just say, that's not a benefit anymore,
I can't answer your question.
so you don't.
No.
Which means they could.
Yeah, the school
They-
boards will
It's
decide.
not a nice thing to do, it's not there, but a
Yeah.
new school board, wherever they are, whatever pressures they're put under, they could just say, no, that's not something we're gonna do.
If somebody retired last year and they're on this benefit, right, has Alpine already made things happen for them to insure for them that are already retired?
We are a conservative organization, and we put money away for our retirees. I'm planning on it being there for me. I don't know what to tell you other than I would assume it would be there for you as well. We are, very conservative. We put money aside beforehand. Now, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I would be very surprised if they did not cover their commitments. Yes? Okay, so if you have between 1 and 10 years of experience as of that 2006 date, then you would qualify for 4 years. Assuming you have the 20 current and consecutive contracted years, right? And are age 60 and/or 30 URS years. Okay.
Talk about Medicare supplements.
Yes, I will. Okay. All right, we'll move ahead. We're doing okay? Yeah.
If you're dependent during that 4 years, turns to pay for things that offer insurance.
Correct.
And you flip it to,
A COBRA? So, yeah, you can pay for COBRA up to 18 months.
Or can you just like, instead of paying family for this, can you switch it so you don't have as much?
The COBRA would have to be a totally separate plan. They could not be on your family plan, right? So you would work through that insurance company to pay 102% of cost for up to 18
I
months.
think what she's asking is that as a family, you're paying $60, but if the dependent drops off, then would you go back to just a two-person insurance payment?
Correct.
I think that's what you're asking, right?
Yeah. Yeah, if you have one person on it, you're gonna pay that amount. 2 people, family, it will coincide, and as people drop off, the amount will change. Okay? All right, let's see where we were at here. Okay, so, if you were hired before July 1st of 2000, let's say you qualify for 4, 5, or 6 years. Let's say after the first 2 years, you turn 65, okay, and you still have 2 more years. If you're hired before 2000, you would still be covered for those 2 years in the form of a Medicare supplement. It would not be the active employee's insurance, but it would be a Medicare supplement. You would have to sign up for Medicare A and B, bring your card in, and we'd give you a supplement, and that would go until the end of your 4, 5, or 6 years. Okay? If you have 4 years and you turn 65 2 years in, but you were hired after 2000, it will end at age 65. Okay? Because at that point, you'll be eligible for Medicare. Okay, now, this is the Medicare supplement for those people who were hired prior to August 21st of 1995 and have at least 15 years of full-time service and who have reached age 65. They are eligible for a Medicare supplement. And we have given this out for life. There's not a many who qualify for it anymore, as you imagine, going clear back to 95. But it is a Medicare supplement through EMI Health. And if you've been full-time for the last 15 years before you go, it's at no cost. Okay, so again, you would have to sign up for A and B, and A is free, but B costs money. We're not paying for B for you, but we're paying for the Medicare supplement that is a secondary coverage to the Medicare A and B. Does that make sense? Yes.
Does it do it for
Just
just the employer or employee?
the employee.
So there's no benefit if you were hired after 90 years.
Not for a Medicare supplement, no. Did you have a question?
What if you're hired in 1994, 95, and then you quit for 2 years, then you came back? And what
Yeah.
was
It is as of your last contracted hire date. So your last contracted hire date would have had to been before August 21st of 95. Okay? All right, classified employees, it's a little bit different. They must be hired before June of 1995, must have at least 10 contracted years, and must be on Alpine's medical insurance at the time of retirement, and be at least age 65 to receive the benefit. So that's one other thing I did want to bring about. If you're not on the medical insurance the year before you go, you don't qualify for it. Okay, you have to be on the medical insurance in order to qualify for the 4, 5, or 6 years. So if you don't have any need of it, you can't just not take it and then take it after, if that makes sense. Okay, so now this form that we've talked about, it's online now since last year. It is due February 1st by 5 p.m. February 1st is Saturday. So if I were you and you're for sure going out this year, I would do it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so that you can give us a call and make sure we receive it. If you don't turn that form in by that time, you could lose out on that stipend or that medical insurance, and I'm sure you don't want to. It is on our website, and you click on the top section that says employees, and then you can see right here under ASD forms, end of employment, retirement form. That is the form that you're going to fill out and get turned in by February 1st at 5. And we are happy to help you. Give Chell, Warner, or myself a call. If you're struggling with any of it, we're happy to help you walk through it and get that submitted. Any questions on that deadline? We are sticking to the February 1st Saturday. Okay? Yes? You submit it online.
Oh, you submit it online?
Yep, you fill it out online, you're gonna click on that, you're gonna fill it out, and you're gonna hit submit. Okay, but again, I would do it maybe a few days before while somebody's in the office to make sure that happens. It is irrevocable. So make sure that you know you want to retire before you turn it in. We had a person who last year changed their mind, and they had to reapply for jobs. So you turn that in, you're retiring, okay? Don't turn it in unless you know for sure. Yes? That's the only form you need to turn in. Okay? All right. Now, if you're thinking you're going to go this year, any possibility, and you have not come in to see myself or Chell Warner, give us a call. We'll get you fit in before the February 1st deadline so that you know exactly what your situation is. So we wish you all luck, and we are happy to help you in any way that we can. And I think we'll have Tracy at URS next.
figure out why the display sometimes didn't work. So I've made some progress. Hi, everybody, I'm Tracy. I see some familiar faces. I've either seen you at this meeting or another one, or at an individual session, but it's good to be with you all. Before we get started, is anybody tier 2? Oh, thank goodness. Sooner or later, we're gonna have to deal with that. We're gonna have to do like a tier 2 and a tier 1 presentation, but it'll be simpler today because everybody's tier 1. So where you have to contribute? No, tier 2, well, yeah, tier 2 is anybody who started after July of 2011. And yeah, they do have a small 0.71% contribution. All right, so for those of you who are tier 1, which I believe is the entire room, this is how we're gonna estimate your benefit. It's years of service times 2%.
Oh, Tracy?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You've got people, sorry. I'm a wanderer, sorry about that. Just close, okay. All right, so here's the formula, and then the average of your 3 highest year salary, and that gives you your basic yearly pension benefit. And remember, you get credit for every day that you work, right? So it's not like you have to have, a full year to get credit for the year. You get credit for every day. And remember, if you're a teacher, if you're like, have a 12-month contract, but you'll work like 9 or 10 months, right? So let's assume that you're all done with all of your responsibilities in the classroom by the end of May. You can make June 1st your retirement date, and you'll still get credit for the summer, and you'll still get your paychecks from the school for the summer, but you'll just get a pension check. So you'll get a pension check and pay from the school during those summer months. So again, you could make June 1st as long as you don't work on June 1st or after that. June 1st, I don't understand. June 1st. It starts when you stop working, it ends when you quit working. So if you go June to June, that's a year. If you go January to January, that's a year. Yeah, we're just, you work a day, it's like birthdays, right? Every day you get another day. That's how the service works, yeah.
For tax purposes, I don't pension and a check.
Uh-huh. You can defer your paychecks from the school into your 401k, yeah. You just have to set that up on the URS website or work with your payroll department to have that done. Yeah.
So if you're retiring June 1st,
Uh-huh.
in order to get that pension paid in June, you need to do the paperwork.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the process in a minute. Yep. Well, if your contract is August, and you're all done with all your responsibilities, done in the classroom, you can still make June 1st your retirement date. You'll still get credit for June and July. Okay? It's kind of a nice little thing for teachers that not, yearly employees get.
Before, do we fill out June 1? Or
Yep, June 1. Yep, we know about school teachers and how it works. Yep, we've done this before. Yeah. Well, do you work during the summer? Yep, then you have to work every day. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that what I was talking about before just works for like, I know you guys have classified and whatever, but basically teachers who have summers off, they can do that. All right, so here's an example. So somebody put in 30 years. Here's the math, really straightforward. And this is how we calculate payout option 1, which is the member-only benefit. And I'll go through the different payout options in a minute. So 30 years times 2% is 60%, times the average of your high 3 years. In this slide, we're just assuming $40,000, simple math. You get a benefit, 60% of 40,000 is 24,000, then it's a monthly benefit, so you get $2,000 a month. And that would be payout option 1, which is the member-only benefit. Now you can see there at the bottom, if you have any service credit prior to 1989, there's a 3% bump. So let's say your pension benefit's $2,000 a year, but you have service credit prior to 1989, then your pension benefit would be 3% higher, or $2,060 a month. Eligibility. So you can retire and claim a full pension benefit at age 65 as long as you have 4 years of service, or at any age as long as you have 35 years of service. So it's one or another. This confuses people a lot, but it's one or the other. So hit 35 or hit 30 years of service.
You're saying 35.
Oh, I'm sorry, 30 years of service. I said one thing and I'm looking at another. 30 years of service, thank you. Then you get the full pension benefit, no early age reductions. Now, you are eligible at any age with at least 25 years of service. At age 60, if you have at least 20 years of service, or at age 62, if you have 10 years of service, but then the benefit is assessed an early age reduction. And the early age reduction is assessed based on your age at retirement. And it's 3% for every year you're younger than 65. So for example, if you're 60 and you have at least 20 years of service and you're applying for the pension benefit, your early age reduction would be 15%, 5 years times 3% for each year. Now, the early age reduction gets bigger if you're in your 50s or less than 60, and then it's 7% a year. So here's an example. Yeah.
I have a bone to pick. We earn 2% a year, but
Uh-huh.
Caroline is 3%.
Yep. Don't ask the actuaries. Just wait till 65. It's an early age reduction that doesn't have anything to do with it.
It just seems like it should be equal, 2%, 2%. Why
So,
2%, 3%?
yeah, I got you. The early age reduction, here's the example. Somebody retires at age 57, early age reduction is 36%, right? 15% from 65 to 60, another 21% from 60 to 57, okay? So that's why you can, yeah.
Is there an early age, so is there an early age reduction if you've been 30, over 30 years?
Who can answer that for her? She has over 30 years. Does she have an early age reduction? Remember, 65 or 30, no early age reduction.
If you're buying years to get to 30, then.
You're okay. Yeah. We don't care how you get your 30 if you buy them. So let's talk about buying for service credit. So there's 3 different ways that you can buy service. The first is purchasing reinstated withdrawn service. So let's say years ago you were in the system back when it was contributory and you left and you got a letter that said, hey, you have a contributory balance of a couple of $1,000s. Do you want to take a refund? And if you took that refund, you forfeited your years of service. You can buy that back if you want to. Now again, you would have worked a long time ago to have those years. You can purchase service that you've earned in another system, for example, the federal system or another state system, okay? You can transfer, assuming that you have a vested interest in that benefit, meaning you've qualified for benefit in that other system. That system will allow you to transfer the years to the URS system. Then you can purchase those years, and we'll talk about how you purchase. Then the final way that you can purchase service is future service purchase. And this allows you to buy up to 5 years. Now, to be eligible to do this, you have to have 25 years of service, or you have to have 25 years of service, or you have to be 65 with 5 years of service. Okay, so 25 years of service in any age, or 65 with 5 years of service to be able to purchase future service. Now, the whole idea in future service is to allow people who have 25 years, they don't want to absorb a big early age reduction, they can buy that last 5 and get to their 30 years. Make sense? Now, it's expensive. Okay, has anybody run the calculator? Okay, so you know it's expensive. You can use money from a tax-deferred plan like your 401k, your 457, or traditional IRA to buy the years of service. You wouldn't be able to use the 403b payments because those aren't paid out till after, and you have to buy the service before. Okay? there's an online calculator that you can use if you're curious what it would cost, or you can contact the pension department. If you're inquiring out purchasing, if you want to reinstate withdrawn service or purchasing service from another system, then you need to talk to the pension department to find out how much that costs, whether it's eligible to be transferred over. If you want just a cost estimate on purchasing the 5 years or any fraction there, just remember you have to buy enough to get to 30, right, to avoid that early age reduction. You can call the pension department or use the online calculator. Now, when you apply for the pension benefit, you'll get a pension estimate, and it'll show the different payout options.
Say that one more time. So
What-
you have to buy, all of those only are a benefit if you get to a total of 30.
No, future service, well, you have to have 30 to avoid the early age reduction or be 65, right?
But you can buy service purchases, it doesn't have to be 30, correct?
If it's future service, it does.
But from the.
Anything else, whatever you want, yep, yep. Yeah, so for example, if you're trying to do, for example, future service, you can only purchase at retirement. I appreciate your question because it reminded me of something. Future service, you can only buy at retirement. But reinstating withdrawn years of service or service from another system, you can buy at any time. Yeah. Yep, yep. And it's actually less expensive if you buy it sooner rather than later, because the formula takes into account that we'll be able to take in that money, invest it, and, well,
Buy it like before you retire.
yeah, buy it at any time, yeah. And if you buy it today versus 10 years from now, it'll be cheaper, yeah. All right, so the payout options work like this. Payout option 1 is a member-only benefit. This is what we use the formula to calculate. This is, you get the benefit every month for as long as you live, but when you die, the benefit ends. Now, payout option 2 is only available if you have a contributory balance. Anybody have a contributory balance? That means you worked in the system a long, long time ago, back when you had to contribute. Okay, good, I'm not going to cover it. Payout options 3 through 6 have surviving spouse benefits. Payout option 3 gives your spouse 100% of your benefit after you die. Now, these benefits are all reduced, right, from payout option 1, because now we're paying out a benefit over 2 life expectancies. So payout option 3, your spouse gets 100% of your benefit after you die. Payout option 4, your spouse gets 50% of your benefit after you die. Payout option 5, your spouse is going to get 100% of your benefit after you die. But if your spouse dies first, then your benefit's going to revert back to 1. And then payout option 6, your spouse gets half of your benefit if you die first. But if your spouse dies first, then your benefit reverts back to 1. And you'll make this election when you apply for the benefit. There's also the partial lump sum options. This is where you're converting some of your monthly benefit into a one-time payout. You still get a monthly benefit, you're just going to get less. So for example, if you look at this slide, the member 1 benefit, remember from our example, option 1 is $2,000 a month. The way we calculate the partial lump sum option is we start with option 1, $2,000 a month, whatever your option 1 is. And then we multiply it by 12 to come up with the first PLSO of $24,000 a year. And we come up with the second, or the bigger PLSO, by multiplying it by 24. So you can see in this case, the PLSOs are $24,000 or $48,000. Again, that's a one-time payout. You get it when you apply for the benefit. You're still going to get a monthly benefit, but it's just reduced. So for example, I've got 2 payout options shown here. So you can see payout option 1 is $2,000 a month. Payout option 5, which has the surviving spouse benefit, and if your spouse dies first, you revert to 1. In this case, the benefit's $1,741 a month. Now you can see how the monthly benefit is reduced if you take a PLSO. Now you have 2 options with the PLSO. You can take it as a cash out and you can spend it, or you can roll it over into your 401k. Okay? And you can break up a PLSO. So for example, if you take that big PLSO and you say, I want half in cash, half rolled into my PLSO, into my 401k, you can do that. Okay? Any questions about the payout options or the PLSO? If you schedule an individual retirement planning session and meet with us, we can give you your PLSO break-even point, which can be helpful in deciding whether or not to take a PLSO. My experience is that whether or not you take the PLSO doesn't really affect your bottom line too much, unless you spend it. But if I'm talking about rolling it into the 401k versus keeping it in the pension, you're basically just rearranging where your payments are going to come from. You're lowering your fixed income and increasing your potential 401k income if you take a PLSO. But ultimately, there's not a big difference in the bottom line. It's kind of like rearranging the chairs on the deck. All right. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're using, planning on using 401k money, 5 years of service, this is, you know, chicken and egg kind of thing going on here. Can you do a lump sum to get into that 5 years of service?
No, because you don't get the PLSO till after. It's all timing. You have to have the money up front. But you could take it from your 401k and then replace it with the PLSO if that's what you wanted to do. But if you were hoping to use the PLSO to buy it, you can't. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, just, see if this is too, if after you retire, you're gonna have problems getting too much income,
Uh-huh.
so that's Medicare and such thing.
Uh-huh.
Could you take those last monies, put it in a 401, convert it to a Roth, so your income would be less?
Well, but if you convert it to a Roth, it's going to increase your income because you're going to have to pay for the income at that point. Yeah, but they're going to look at your Medicare premium. It's a 2-year look back, so they're going to look at ages 63 and 64 salaries.
That's what, they don't include Roth.
No. Oh, no, they would include Roth conversions in salary, absolutely. It's income. Yep, yeah.
What is the match, PLSO payment, 12 months, 24 months, you know, what's the match?
It's just 12 months of payout option 1 or 24 months of payout option 1, depending on what your payout is. Yeah. Okay. Now, has anybody used an online calculator? Yeah, good. Don't be afraid to use the online calculator. We have a calculator that you can use to estimate your pension benefit. You have an online calculator that you can use to estimate what it would cost to purchase future service credit. And we have a calculator that you can use to estimate how much income your retirement savings can generate. So don't be afraid to use those calculators. If you're not, remember, the information you get is only as good as what you put in. So if you're not sure if you did it right, so remember, especially on the pension, when you're doing a pension estimate, make sure you pick the Tier 1 non-contributory public employee system, because there's like 7 different pensions, and if you choose the wrong one, it'll give you a bad number. But it's easy to do. All right, yeah.
And the amount calculated for the benefit is based on like your W-2 amount at the end of each year, is that accurate?
Well, it's based on what the employer is reporting to us. But W-2s and what your employer reports, they should match. Yeah. But every once in a while, somebody will come into me and they'll say, hey, I've got some payments that you get maybe from your school don't count towards the pension benefit. So basically you get paid for your base, any overtime, whether it's extra classes, things like that. All right, online calculators. Best thing to do if you want to look at what salary they're reporting, what they're going to use, just go pull up your pension statement. Remember, you get a pension statement every March. The pension statement for 2024 will come out here in a couple of months, and it shows your salary history going back to when you started. And you can see what salaries have been reported. What's that? Yeah, if you log into your account and you click on the document center, there's pension statements there. So you can look. Also, you guys should all be logging onto your account and verifying your years of service. Over on the right-hand side, it gives you current years of service. So like if you're 24 and a half years, it'll say you've got 24 and a half years of service. Why is that important? Well, because if you, this happened one time to me. I had it wasn't a teacher, but they came in, the woman thought she had 30 years of service and she wanted to retire like in the next year. We only showed her with 25 years of service. I said, did you never look at a pension statement? Or she had never logged onto her account or looked at a pension statement. And so I suspect that, I mean, there's one of two possibilities. She was working part-time for some period, not getting service credit, or maybe her employer didn't report it. Now here's the problem. The legislature imposed, and this was a couple of years back, they imposed a 4-year statute of limitations on efforts by employees to recover lost years of service. So if you come into me and I say, well, I show you with only 25 years of service and you think you have 30, and we go through and we find out that those errors occurred more than 4 years ago, you would be potentially barred from any effort to recover those. Say your employer said, no, we're not going to do that. It's always up to the employer whether they're going to make it right or not. But if the employer said no and you felt strongly enough about it and you wanted to hire an attorney and everything, you could be barred by the statute of limitations. So you need to check your years of service. Every year when you get your pension statement, it shows how many years of service you have as of December 31st of that year, the previous year. All right, let's talk about the death benefit. So heaven forbid you should die while still working, but it happens, unfortunately. So there's a death, we call this the active member death benefit. It's a one-time payment equal to 75% of your highest salary. So if you made the most you ever made was $100,000, we would cut a check for $75,000, and that would be divided among the beneficiaries that you've designated, all right? And so it's important that you designate your beneficiaries, not only for this death benefit, but also any retirement savings plans you have with us. By last account, I think we had over 50% of members had not designated beneficiaries. That makes it really tough. You know, if a member dies and we're trying to pay out a death benefit, or a member dies and we're trying to pay out a 401k and we don't have beneficiaries, the burden then falls on the estate to prove who's entitled to that money. So designate beneficiaries. It's so easy to do. Just go online and do that. So anyway, back to this active member death benefit. The only requirement is you have to be actively employed with a URS eligible agency at the time of your death. That's it. And we're going to pay that out to the beneficiary. All right? Again, one-time payment. We have a second benefit. This is called a career benefit. The requirements for this are you have to have at least 15 years of service, and you have to have been married at least 6 months. Now, you don't have to be actively employed with the URS eligible agency to be eligible to collect this benefit. However, it's a prorated benefit. So what happens is when we get notice that a member has passed away, the first thing we do is we look to see how old they were at the time of death and how many years of service they have. If they were eligible for the pension benefit at the time of their death, then we use the formula, we calculate the pension benefit. If there's an early age reduction, the early age reduction is going to be applied, and then their spouse would get payout option 3, because that's the highest surviving spouse benefit that a spouse can receive. But let's say when you pass away, you're not eligible. You've got 15 years, at least 15 years, but you're 40 years old. You're a long ways from being eligible to collect the benefit. Well, this allows your spouse to receive a prorated benefit. And the way it's calculated is if you have 15 to 19 years of service at the time of your death, your spouse will get 1/3 of your benefit. If you have 20 to 24 years of service, your spouse gets 2/3 of your benefit. And if you have 25 years or more, your spouse gets 100% of your benefit. And again, the benefit is just calculated by plugging it into the formula. So 15 years of service times 2% times the average of your high 3 years as of the time of your death. But remember, it's a prorated benefit, okay?
So I noticed that said in addition, so the spouse can get both.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. If she's a beneficiary, if he or she are a beneficiary, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yep. All right, let's talk about steps to retirement. So remember our pension dates. Has everybody, I hope everybody's requested a pension estimate. If you haven't, that's your homework. Go in, log on to urs.org, log on to your account, and if you're eligible, you'll see a little link that says request a pension estimate. Do that. That gives our pension department an opportunity to go through your years of service and your salary history, and they'll provide you with an estimate. You have to be within 3 years of your retirement date to request that, okay? That gives them an opportunity. That way, you know, if you thought you had 30 years and you only have 25, this is maybe one way you find out, right? Before you actually apply for the benefit. So we like everybody to get a pension estimate from the pension department. Then remember that the pension dates are the 1st or the 16th of the month, and you cannot work that day or after. So if your retirement date's the 1st, then the last day of the previous month is your last day worked. If your retirement date is the 16th, then the last day you work is the 15th, the previous day, okay? If you work any portion of that day, the 1st or the 16th, you don't get the pension. They'll make you refile and do it to the 16th, okay? So don't think like, I may have to go into the classroom for just a minute on the 1st, but I think I'll be okay, because it could potentially be a problem. All right. Within 3 months, so if you're going to retire, if you make your pension retirement date June 1st, that means after March 1st, you're going to contact the pension department and request the application. You have to be within 90 days. So if you're not retiring till August, then you'll have to wait till May, okay? Call, request the application. Let's get that paperwork to you so you can get it started. The application is simple. I'll go through that in just a second. You will have to have a couple of documents. You're going to have your birth certificate, your spouse's birth certificate, and your marriage certificate. Yep. Everybody, this is where all the husbands lean to the wife and say, "Do we have my birth certificate?" Okay. Because for some reason it's the wife's job to do that. So anyway, you will need those, yeah.
You said that it was 3 months before your retirement date, and you mentioned August, so
Well, there was one person who said that they were, that we talked to earlier, who said they were going to retire in August, so they'd have to wait till May.
if I said June 1st, then
March, yep, exactly. Sorry that I threw that in there, that was confusing. But those are the only documents we need. Now, these are the forms that you'll fill out. And if you want, you can always ask to make an appointment with somebody in the pension department. So don't schedule an individual retirement planning session to do this, okay? This is, you make the appointment directly with the pension department if you want help filling out that. But it's really simple. The retirement application, that's just where you're going to say, I'm retiring on this date. I want payout option, whatever payout option you want, whether or not you want a PLSO. If you're taking a PLSO, do you want cash out, 401k, or a combination? Okay, that's the application. You're going to sign it. Then you're going to have to fill out a W-4P so that we can do tax withholdings. If you find that you're under withholding or over withholding, fill out a new W-4P and submit it. Has anybody done a new W-4? It's very different from when we did them. Pretty much, and it's hard, right? Yeah, see, he's,
My major's in business, and I've got an accounting,
yeah,
your accounting degree, and I don't understand why they ever changed it.
I don't either.
Ridiculous thing.
I even called I called our payroll department and said, how do I do this? And they said, I don't know. So I had to Google it. So basically, remember the old one, you could claim deductions, and they would kind of adjust your withholding based on deductions? Well, no more. Now they've got this complicated thing that makes absolutely no sense. This is what I suggest. Just fill it out and turn it in. See what your withholding is on your first pension check, And then if you feel like you're under, because I think the problem is you'll be under withholding rather than over withholding. If you're under withholding, then get another W-4P and ask to have more withheld. And there's a little line where you can ask for an additional amount. My wife started a new job back in March, and because I'd been through it, it took us like three pay periods to get it sorted out. So just beware of that. You'll have to fill out an updated beneficiary form. Remember, if you've designated a spouse and then you get divorced, that spouse is revoked. That's only on URS savings plans. That doesn't apply to anything else. If you have an obligation to list that ex-spouse as a beneficiary, then you have to redo them as a beneficiary after the decree date. You'll have to do a direct deposit form. No more paper checks. You know, we used to do paper checks, and then we told members, we're going to charge you $20 for every paper check. Figured that would cut down on paper checks. People still wanted paper checks, so finally they just tough love, no more paper checks. So you'll need to have a bank or somebody we can send the money to. Notice of bona fide termination requirements. Remember, when you start drawing that pension, you can't be working for any URS eligible employer. That doesn't matter whether you're receiving URS service credit. So if you're teaching yoga over the county rec, you're going to have to quit that job. Okay? We'll talk about that. If you're, what?
Can you not, during that job, can you not opt out of being part of the URS system?
No. No, if that employer is eligible, you can't work for them.
What about the higher education, like UU, is like, 'cause I heard that you
Yeah.
could opt out of.
Yeah, but
From
they're still URS eligible though. Your decision to opt out and take TIF or Fidelity as the benefit doesn't change the fact that they're URS eligible.
So URS eligible, because we
Yep.
had this appointment and next thing I asked URS, he said as long as, it was being appointed to you, he said as long as she's opted to the other one.
No, he told you wrong. That's not true. It's if it's a URS eligible position. So you have to cut all URS eligible employment. No, we're going to talk about that because there's a couple of different rules. Let's see, that's the notice and remember the penalty if you break the termination requirements is you get a nasty letter from our legal department telling you we want all the pension money back. And if we find the employer was complicit in it, then we don't care who we get the money from, we'll take it from the employer or the employee. And then notice of post-retirement employment restrictions. This is where we explain the different post-retirement, which we'll cover. All right, remember your first check can take up to 90 days, so it's a good idea to have some money saved. But remember, if it takes us over 30 days, it's always retroactive to your retirement date. And it's paid on the last business day. So ideally, if you're retiring June 1st, you'll get your first pension check June 30th. It'll hit your bank account July 1st, and you'll be off and running. Remember, you get an annual cost of living adjustment. It's paid out on the anniversary of your retirement date. So if you retire in June, you'll get your COLA every June. It's equal to the rate of inflation, which is based on the consumer price index, but it's capped at 4%, so you'll never get more than 4%. Here's the COLAs for the last, 8, 9 years? Now, let's talk about what happened. So you can see through 2015 through 2020, the inflation was all less than 4%. The COLAs were well under 4%. But let's talk about what happens when inflation is over 4%. In 2021, the COLA was 4.7%. You were going to get 4%. That's the most you can get. But the 0.7 you didn't get goes into your COLA bank. Now, the next year, 2022, the COLA was 8%. You're only going to get 4%. But we're going to look at your COLA bank and we're going to say, hey, they have 0.7% in their COLA bank from the previous year. You would have gotten 4.7. Now, for 2022, you'd have gotten 0.7 from 2021, but now you'd have an additional 4% or 3.7% from 2022. Then when 2023 rolled around, you would only get the 4%, but we'd look at your COLA bank. Hey, you had I've lost track, 2.3 or whatever that number was, you're going to get the 4.1. So whenever inflation is higher than 4%, the difference goes into your unpaid inflation or COLA bank, okay? And it sits there. And then if inflation is a persistent problem, then you'll get the full amount to the extent you have money in your COLA bank to cover it. Okay, remember your pension is subject to state and federal income tax. Discussed this already. Change that withholding on your W-4 as many times as you want. And then remember, at the end of the year, you're going to get a 1099-R instead of a W-2, and you'll use that to do your income tax return. Post-retirement employment. So there are a couple of rules, and there's a new rule. So if you retire and you call us up within 60 days and say, nah, I want to go back to work, cancel my pension check, we'll do that. You'll jump back into the system, and anytime you work, you will be working towards a separate supplemental pension benefit. Once you've retired and collected, once you've passed your retirement date, that pension is done and set aside. So think about our example of $2,000 a month. You go back to work on this exception and you jump back into the system. When you retire from that second position, then we'll calculate a little tiny pension benefit. You have to work at least 2 years to vest, okay? But it is possible to earn additional service credit. The important thing to remember, and I remember this happened to me once, member had retired, and within like a week, he got this huge high-paying job offer, and he wanted to take it because he thought that we would use the salary from that new high-paying job to adjust his pension, which had already been determined. Sad news was no. He was going to get a new pension, but it was going to be not as big, yeah.
Okay, so I coach in Alpine School District.
Yep,
So I retired June 1st.
yep.
I wait 60 days, and I want to still coach golf in
Mhm.
the fall.
Mhm.
Can I do that?
You have to terminate your employment,
Okay, so I terminate.
and then you have to reapply
I
after.
reapply.
Yep.
Do I lose my pension?
Nope, we're going to talk about that next. So, oh, sorry, I touched it. What happened?
I think the system turned off.
You think? Sometimes that does it. I was almost done. There we go. I was gonna say, but then it always jumps to the first. Okay, things to consider. Okay, second rule. You can start that pension check, and then if you sit out 60 days, you can return after 60 days to a non-benefited position that currently doesn't pay. It's actually come up from this 19,504. It's closer to 20,504. But remember, it has to be non-benefited, and you can't make over the salary limit. And so anybody who's going to do this, call the pension department and find out what the salary limit is for that year. Yeah.
So he went over, this scenario,
Uh-huh.
Representative Victoria. He said that it would reduce the pension check
No,
by
we're
20%.
going to talk about that next. That's a different rule. So
So you could return to position after school in a coaching position.
you can go to any URS eligible position after 60 days, but before 1 year. And you can, it's got to be non-benefited, doesn't pay more than like 20,000 and change a year. But remember, you've got to terminate the position,
So what
and you've got to reapply.
So the check, so that doesn't have any impact on our pay for June, July, and August?
Because June 1st is your retirement date, if in fact it
We're
is.
still considered employees of Alpine and still
Doesn't
the
matter.
1st of September?
Those are your checks for the year that you've retired.
Yeah, yeah.
I just already completed it.
They're not new, they're just not new payment.
It's money you've already earned.
All right, I just want to make sure that if I terminate with Alpine School District on June 1st, can I come back and coach golf starting August 4th?
He's
would
looking
tell
at you for the answer, I don't know.
And I would tell you, call URS and ask.
And I would say, yes, you can.
Okay.
As long as you
60
don't make over the
days.
20,000.
They don't
They
know.
don't pay that much to Coach Ball.
They don't know the answer, I know the answer. So you have to have 60-day clean break of employment with the URS eligible employer. Yeah,
Question on just, statists that think they're gonna go back, or if you ever did. So, I don't know which one I asked this question of. If you return to Alpine District after retirement, how do they count your years in? So you start at first year's teacher salary,
Step 4.
step 4.
yeah, that one they would know. Okay. Now, this is the rule you were talking about. This is a new rule. In order for you to take advantage of this, you have to return after July 1st of 2025. The rule says that you can return after 90 days. And within 12 months, you can continue to receive a pension check. However, it's going to be reduced by 80%. So if your pension check was $2,000 a month, you're going to get $1,600 a month for the duration of you continuing in that post-retirement employed position. You, what? Yeah, yeah, by 20%. And you're not going to get any COLAs during that period either. So for example, if you continue a whole year in that post-retired position and the COLA was 4%, your benefit was $2,000, you wouldn't get it, your $80 COLA for that period. Yep. So again, you have to come back to work after July 1st. You've had to have had a 90-day break, and then you can do this.
Now, the 80%, is that once you really quit, does that 80% go back up?
Once you quit.
Once you quit.
Yep. Yep, once you leave employment. And then the last one is if you'll sit out a full year, you can return to a benefited position, no limit on salary, no limit on benefits, and you can still keep that pension check. Or remember, at any time you can choose to cancel your pension check and just jump back into the system. These post-retirement rules are intended to give people who want to return, keep their pension check and return to the system the rules under which they can do that so that they don't get in trouble.
New service on your old,
What?
cancel, retire, accrue new service.
If you cancel your pension check.
If you cancel, and that new service is going,
Towards a new little supplemental pension.
towards a new.
Remember, once your pension date is passed, that's done and decided. That's water under the bridge. You're not going to be able to visit that again. All right, quickly. This one? Or this?
Understanding was if you sit out, you retire, you sit out a year, you can return to a paid full benefit position and collect that salary. No reduced benefit.
All right, savings plans. So hopefully you all have at least a 401k with us. Remember, we have a 457 traditional IRA and Roth IRA. As Wade was mentioning, you can roll over your 403B. Of course, the 401k at URS would be a possibility, and then you could do a Roth conversion from there. Good time to make sure that your investments, you're not invested too aggressively, too conservatively. Take the investor profile questionnaire online. It'll tell you whether you're conservative, moderate, aggressive, or somewhere in between, and it'll give you a recommendation on an investment. Remember, once you're a URS member, you're always a URS member. You can manage you still have access to the URS website even after you retire. So you can manage your account, manage your investments, manage withdrawals, update beneficiaries, and then change anything you want, okay? Things that can, you can leave funds with URS. Yeah, once you're a member, you're always a member. If you want to roll them out to another place, you're welcome to do that. Or you can withdraw the funds and spend your money. Just remember, if you're younger than 55, you'll be subject to that early withdrawal penalty. Remember how Wade talked that if you work into the calendar year, you turn 55 or later, you can take penalty-free withdrawals. And then there's a form online, you have to log into your account to access it, but you can do periodic payments, you can do one-time payments, you can say URS, send me equal monthly payments over the next 20 years, and we'll do that for you. Individual retirement planning sessions, that's where you meet with one of us for an hour. We'll do projections for pensions, Social Security, and income from savings. We'll look at how you're invested. This is how you sign up for these. You have to log into your account, click on the education tab, click on individual retirement planning session. Excuse me, you'll have to take the investor profile. Just look for a date, time, whether you want to do it in person or whether you want to do it virtual, because we do them virtual too. And that's it. Sorry, I went kind of long.
Oh, you're good.
Okay.
Hey, our wonderful Garner. Oh, go ahead, Sarah.
How do we do that, the district, that you just do it online and push submit, how do we do your form?
Just call pension department and ask for it.
We have to call, and they, will they mail it to us, or mail it to us?
Yeah, or I think probably may send it to you via the message center so you can print it out from there.
And then we mail them back?
Or upload it to the message center. Yeah, don't get confused with what you have to do for the district with what you have to do for URS. I got a call about a year ago from a real nice gentleman. He said, hey, I haven't got my pension check yet. I said, well, let me look you up. I looked him up, and he hadn't even applied for retirement. He left University of Utah like 6 months ago and never applied for the benefit. So don't forget, yeah.
So one question I didn't catch, if
Yeah.
we want to purchase shares using our early retirement stipend, how do we work that out?
Because you won't get that until after.
Okay.
You've got to buy the years of service before you retire. So like the PLSO, the stipend, and other.
No, the stipend will help you.
Oh, that's
Stipend will
right,
go right
thank
into
you. That's an exception. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah. No, that's the biggie.
So how
That's
does
the
that-
buyout.
Yeah.
Yes. You'll work with URS, they'll bring a form, you'll bring me a form, we'll have the amounts. I take it down to payroll, they'll cut a check, you take it up to URS.
Okay, so downstairs with that check.
You just come to me. Yeah. Okay, Garner is here, and we've had lots of issues with our change, and so this is your opportunity to learn about Garner and ask any questions you might have.
We'll try to keep it quick and snappy, shifting our focus from future planning to right now, what's available to you right now, so we'll try and get some questions answered. We would ask if you could hold your questions until the end, and we'll try to get through this and hopefully answer some of them, and then I will absolutely stay around and make sure that we get any individual questions or areas of confusion cleared up. Let's get on.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you all for hanging in there. We are representing Garner. My name is Britton. I'm joined by Megan here, and we are an awesome new healthcare benefit that went live September 1st. Maybe you've already heard about us, maybe you haven't, but either way, this is just intended to educate you on what Garner is, how to use it, why we exist, and so forth. So I just want to take a moment to appreciate the fact that I've been working with the benefits team here to make this benefit really come to life, and we really think it's an exciting, game-changing benefit. So the main thing that Garner does is we want to make sure that you're actually receiving care from high-quality providers. That's one thing. And the second thing is that you're actually getting reimbursed for seeing those high-quality doctors. We know that these doctors are high quality based on real patient outcomes, and I'll dive into a little bit of detail, but we have about 75% of all claims over the past 5 or so years in our system, and we look at the way that doctors are treating patients, and then we arrive at our algorithm. So as you can see on the screen, this is the look of our app, but we have a website as well, getgarner.com, and these are a list of top providers. The app looks exactly the same as the website, but
What's
that's how
that
it works.
number really represent?
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's just an algorithm, but is that a 99 like approval rate or approval
it's
rate,
so
or 99% you're getting what you paid for?
I wouldn't think about it that way. It's a rating relative to peers. So if like you're in the, I would think of it more as like, not exactly this way, but like more of a percentile than a, and it's not exactly a percentile, but it's a rating relative to peers. if that makes sense. Okay, so our philosophy is that the doctor that is handling your healthcare has a much greater impact on the quality of that care than, say, a great hospital system. So as an example of like the way this works and the way we think about these things, right here on the left side, you see a graph of hospitals and top doctors. So Garner would be represented by this green bar on the far left. And the y-axis is measuring average healthy days lost. So Garner actually does a lot better than even the most elite hospital systems out there. Let's think of like a Mayo Clinic or similar. And that is because the individual doctors can vary widely in performance at those same hospitals. So let's say that you went to Hospital A, and those are represented by that purple bar. If you were to go to Hospital A, there's a decent chance you're seeing a pretty good doctor in terms of average healthy days lost, but you also might be on the far end of this graph and seeing a not so quality doctor. So Garner is irrespective of hospital system and really trying to look at who practices medicine most efficiently and effectively. So some common characteristics of Garner top providers: they follow the latest medical research, they successfully diagnose problems and avoid misdiagnoses, they achieve the best patient outcomes, and of course receive favorable patient satisfaction rates as well. So this is how it looks. This is what your benefit is for Alpine for plans A, B, C, and D. And for plans A through C, the reimbursement amount, or what Garner will pay out for seeing top quality doctors, is $2,000 for individuals, $4,000 for families. For the plan D, it's $1,500 and $3,000 for families. And so these reimbursements are made for, you can see a list of qualifying expenses such as like office visits, imaging, lab work, et cetera. So I'll talk a little bit about how this product actually works, and making sure that you qualify for reimbursement by seeing these top quality doctors. So the first step, required step, is that you have to create the account. We know that 70% of Alpine employees have created an account, so awesome. The next step is actually, creating the account, finding the top provider on the app before your visit to the top provider. Then you visit the top provider, and your expenses associated are reimbursed up to that $2,000, $4,000, or $1,500, $3,000 amount that I was showing earlier. So, first step, creating the account. I know many have done this already. The next step is to actually find the provider. So there are a couple different ways that you can find a top provider, and I'll have Megan do a little demo here at the end to show you exactly the mechanics of how this works. But when you're searching for providers, you'll see some of the providers will have these green badges indicating that they are a top provider. So if you've performed a search and you see this Dr. Bruce Banner, then that provider will be added to what's called an approved providers list. And then once you see that provider, you'll be reimbursed for the expenses associated with that provider. Now, there is one little nuance. So this is something that Alpine has very graciously agreed to cover. So there are specific circumstances if you have a particular primary care provider, gynecologist, pediatrician, gerontologist, or mental health provider, you can actually add that primary care provider, even if Garner doesn't designate them as an approved, or as a top provider, I should say. So the process here for adding these like non-top providers into the approved provider list is just by clicking this request button. And you can see it's, the color's a little funny for me right now, but you'll just hit the request button, and then the process is pretty instantaneous. The next step before you would see your doctor is actually just checking on the approved provider list to make sure that the provider you're seeing is on that list before you go see them. And then at that point, there's no claim you need to submit to Garner. We actually receive that claims detail from our partners at EMI. So we receive that detail and can reimburse you for those costs associated with visiting the provider. In terms of the reimbursement process, so I will say it does take about 6 to 8 weeks for Garner to actually process the claim, and that's because there are a couple interim steps. You know, first you're actually having the visit, then you go to the doctor. The doctor takes some time to submit the claim to EMI. EMI processes the claim, then we process the claim, and then we make that reimbursement. Either we have two means of doing this, either direct deposit or via reimbursement check. Direct deposit is pretty quick. It's about 2 weeks faster than a reimbursement check. So, summarizing all the steps that I just mentioned, you create the Garner account, you search for a top provider before you see them to add that provider to your list of approved providers, and then you just make sure that those costs are covered under your plan. Now, there is one important distinction to make. If you have an HSA, you must meet the minimum deductible, and that deductible for 2024, which is when your plan year started, is $1,600 for individuals and $3,200 for families. So what this means is you must spend in out-of-pocket expenses $1,600 for individual coverage, $3,200 for family coverage before Garner will begin to reimburse. And that's an IRS law. Okay, and I'll let Megan take it from here. Yes?
In urgent care, is that what you were saying? Is that similar, like an urgent care? Yeah, so your benefit covers emergency care, and so for emergency care visits and urgent cares, you'll be reimbursed without having, of course, you won't know who you see. You can find urgent care locations while searching the app, so if you don't have one, you can do that. You can also add a preferred location already, just so it makes the claims process smoother, but it's not a requirement. Sure.
Is this benefit available to people even after retirement?
It's-
Is there in the EMI system?
It's available as long as you are on the EMI health plan. Sure.
Cover copay?
Yeah, so as long as you have found the top provider, they are added to your approved providers list before you visit them, whatever that out-of-pocket cost that you owe, whether it's a copay, lab work, imaging, anything like that, will be reimbursed up to your benefit amount.
So those same costs that you're paying that are, towards your deductible, those same costs would be eligible for reimbursement, yeah.
What if we can't get into the actual doctor and they, the.
Yeah, we see PAs and MPs.
Yeah.
Right, all the
Yeah,
time.
they give you the,
Physicians.
Yeah.
PA.
So I hear a couple of different possible scenarios there. One is that you make an appointment with a top provider, you show up and they've scheduled you with someone else for something outside of your control. I would recommend reaching out to the concierge if you could that day to alert them to it. Potentially you could add that other doctor and then you'll be good to go. Otherwise, you might have to do it after the fact, but we would be able to cover that visit that one time because it was outside of your control. It just wouldn't happen automatically because that provider wouldn't have been added to your account. And so the claim wouldn't be processed automatically. You just have to do a little bit of work on that side. For a PA, so say you see your regular family doctor and they've got a team of nurses or a dermatologist and you know the PA you see often, you can add that provider if that primary MD is approved and on your account. Their supporting staff, their NPs, their PAs can also be approved. You just need to reach out to concierge and ask them to add them for you.
So you can have them in the office.
That's correct, because Garner cares so much about the individual doctor, exactly. So if you've got your main doctor, your primary care provider, your main dermatologist, your main cardiologist, if they're approved, then the supporting staff that works with them will be as well, those mid-level providers.
But we have to go use the concierge to add them.
For mid-levels, yes. MDs, no. So mid-level providers are not searchable in the app, nurses, physician's assistants, because you're not able to recommend them. There's not a claims data since they so often bill under an overseeing physician. And so, yes, you would need to reach out to concierge for those instances. But most MDs and DOs you'd be able to find searching in the app.
In some circumstances too, even when a PA bill or a PA claim comes through, it's actually still that overseeing MD that's the one that's on the claim. So in that case, you'd be good to go too, and you can add it because the physician that's in your approved list is the one
So just to reiterate and close the button on the HSAs, for any folks that might have that, if you had that Plan C or Plan D, those QHDHP plans, you are required to spend a certain amount of money, $1,600 for individuals or $3,200 if you have dependents, towards your out-of-pocket costs before Garner can start reimbursing anything else. You can use your HSA funds while you're meeting that deductible to pay for those services, but it's really important to remember not to use HSA funds to pay for a service which you will be reimbursed by Garner for. IRS considers that double dipping due to both accounts having tax advantages. So you want to keep those separate. HSA funds for things you won't be reimbursed by Garner for, and then other non-HSA and non-FSA dollars as well for anything that you anticipate being reimbursed by Garner for.
Very hard because they're so overlapping. When you get to the 3,200, you don't know it's months later because you got all this time.
Yeah.
How do you?
I hear you. That's a big product request. We know that folks want to see their HSA accumulators. You can do so on your EMI account. I know it's an extra step, but if you're waiting to meet that and you think you're getting close, I would just check in to see where you are in your out-of-pocket spend on your deductible. And as you reach that 32, hold off on the HSA funds for that as you anticipate starting to get direct deposits from Garner.
The first like $1,632, $1,300, we don't need to go through you.
You don't.
EMI.
Yeah, that's correct. And that $3,200, they don't need to be costs that would be reimbursed by Garner. For example, it could be a non-approved provider. All of that qualifies to get to that expense. But once you want to start being reimbursed by Garner, then of course it would need to be an approved provider on your list before that date of service. Okay.
So
Go on, man.
we can just go here. And I guess there's no presenter view, but anyway, yeah. Well,
What's the
actually, sorry.
I don't have mine.
Good point. Okay.
On the donor account,
Yeah.
multiple, like the main insured and then the dependents all in one app.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so you are welcome to manage the approved providers and claims and everything for your family under one account. Any dependent over the age of 18 is welcome to create their own if they would like, but it's not necessary. All reimbursements will always go to the primary member on the account, and that benefit amount is a shared amount. It's not an even split or anything like that, so it's just a one pool. Okay, we wanted to take a moment just to show you a few around the app in case you're not super familiar, maybe show some tips and tricks. We are using the web browser, the website. It's the exact same functionality as the mobile app, so if you prefer to use the website, you're absolutely able to. When you log in, you'll see a few tiles here. Hopefully you won't see that you aren't verified yet. We're of course not Alpine members, so we would not be verified. But as long as you are eligible, your account information matches your health plan information, you should be good to go. And in doing that, when your account is verified, you have a few different options. Under your benefit, you should be able to see that total amount that you have, whether it's the $1,500, the $2,000, the $4,000, and see some different covered circumstances and learn more about it. I think some of the key parts here, of course, are the Find Providers feature. Here is where you can search for providers, both new care for a particular type of specialty or a particular type of medical need, and also search for individual providers by name if you're curious about them. So, for example, I could search for a new primary care physician here in American Fork, and I'll be recommended a list of providers near me. All of these providers that you'll be recommended, you'll see have this green top provider badge. And just by virtue of them having been recommended to me, they're automatically going to be added to my approved providers list. So you can go ahead and start seeing any of these providers should you choose, and you'll be all set to go. So let's see, we've got Robert Duran's here. If I click on settings in the top right, you'll be able to see your account information, and this is how you can access your approved providers list to validate, to make sure that you've added who you want to add, and see the date that they were added. So for example, you see Robert Duran's here, date added yesterday when we were preparing for this demo, and they are here and added and ready, and they will remain on our approved providers list, and I'm good to see them, and any cost from January 7th and moving forward will be reimbursed up to that benefit amount. I can also search for a provider by individual name. So say, I think it was Tyson. Say I have a child whose pediatrician is Tyson Jones. When I search for Tyson here, I see he's not a top provider, but because of that generous benefit that Alpine has where you can keep your existing care, you'll see here that I have the option here to request approval before the visit.
And just to be clear, this is existing primary care.
Exactly, existing primary care, apologies. Primary care providers, pediatricians, gynecologists, and mental health professionals. So when I click request approval, it asks me to just validate that I have a family member who's already receiving care from this provider. I'll say yes. And now I get this, great, they're approved for my Garner benefit. And so now, if I go back to my approved providers list, I now see Tyson Jones has been added, and it was added as of today, January 8th. So I'm all set to have costs associated with this provider reimbursed moving forward. No, the costs that go towards your deductible. Yeah, so Garner's here to help you ease that burden of those costs that would ordinarily be your out-of-pocket up to that deductible.
Correct.
So you can search by name, by specialty, or by symptom. I can search knee pain if I want. It will show me providers to suit that particular need. Over here in claims, you can track what claims have been reimbursed and paid. So obviously we don't have any on our account, but if you were to log in, you'd be able to track everything which has already been sent to you. If you don't see a claim which has been paid, you anticipate that it should have been reimbursed, and it's been around 6 to 8 weeks, and you have that EOB from EMI, you know that your insurance has processed it, we would recommend reaching out to Concierge. Concierge is the name of the game to help you look into any of your questions. You can link to them here. There's commonly a little message to Concierge at the bottom, and then of course also a section from the home page as well. When I click support, I'll be able to select a number of different options. It might help you try to self-serve where possible. So if I had questions about a PA, for example, that I wanted to add, I wanted to ask for help finding an existing provider, a current provider, it might suggest searching for them, but I know I want to chat, so I'm just going to go straight to chat now. Our concierge is live support, real humans, not bots. They're available Monday through Friday, 8 to 8 Eastern time, and English and Spanish support. So send in a message. They're available, and it happens quite quick. You can treat it like a chat. A lot of folks will send a message, come back and check it later. That's totally fine as well. You guys are all busy, so fit it in when you can. And if you were to have existing chats with concierge as well, they would stay here in your account always. You'd always have a record of a conversation that you had, so it would stay listed, and you'd have that historical record to look back on. Yeah.
Just so I understand, if I go in for knee pain and then I bring it up, then everybody on there is going to be on my list?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. So everybody on here. Everybody with the green badge. When you're searching for new recommendations, they'll all have green badges. If you were to search for somebody by name, there's a chance they may not. And so you'd only be able to request approval if they are of that primary care specialty type. Otherwise, we'd encourage you to look for a top provider or seek recommendations. Any other questions about the app or how to navigate through here? Okay, good. Were you just presenting? Perfect. So the best way to get your questions answered, one, you have this resource, a Garner guide that is available to you. It has a ton of frequently and commonly asked questions. It's garnerguide.com/alpine-school-district, and it is housed where, Chell? They're linked.
Oh, on the website, underneath HR and benefits.
So you can always access this along with a couple other one-pagers and demo videos and things like that. So that's always available for you there. And then again, name of the game, all else fails, reach out to concierge. They can help you understand your benefit, help you find new care. Maybe you did a search for the app and you couldn't find someone for a unique medical need. They can do that. Actually have a process where they'll call providers to ensure they meet your particular need before sending you that recommendation. They can help you add providers that you were unable to find in the app, and find out whether or not they can be approved, and help you look into claim statuses as well. So again, Monday through Friday, real live people, 8 to 8 Eastern. You can chat with them. There's an email address as well and phone. Chat is easy, of course, and of course you keep that record in your account, whether the app or the website. Okay, that's all we wanted to share with you. I know we kept it quick and snappy. We were running low on time, but we are here if you have questions, if you need to create your account. Any burning questions, concerns, comments, reactions? Okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You've all been lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It was wonderful. Also, getgarner.com on the website is really easy and nice to work on.
Oh.
I'm so glad you're here.
Tell me everything.